I still remember the moment, the cold wind, the heavy silence, and the way my knees felt weak under the weight of grief I didn't know how to carry. My wife, Emily, had been gone for only 3 days. 3 days since the accident. 3 days since my entire world collapsed. And now, her funeral day. People around me moved in slow motion, whispering condolences, hugging me softly, placing flowers. But all their voices turned into a distant echo when he arrived. Her boss, Daniel Carter. He walked toward me with the same expression he always had. Composed, serious, almost too calm. He wasn't crying. He wasn't even trying. He shook my hand firmly and whispered, "Mark, there's something you must know about Emily." Something inside me snapped. Not loudly, but quietly, like a thin thread breaking. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice from shaking. Daniel glanced around nervously and said, "Not here, not now, but you deserve the truth." Those words settled in my chest like ice. The truth? About my wife? On the day I was burying her? I could barely breathe. What truth? I demanded, but he only said, "She wasn't the person you think she was." And then he walked away, just like that. He left me standing beside my wife's coffin, wondering what kind of secret man waits to reveal until the day the woman is being lowered into the ground. That single sentence, that single moment, it changed everything. And I had no idea that the truth he carried would break me, rebuild me, and push me toward the biggest revenge in my life. Before everything fell apart, I thought Emily and I had a simple, warm, peaceful life. We had been married for 6 years. Not perfect, but solid. We laughed often. We cooked together. We took long evening walks. We made plans, big ones, small ones, silly ones. Emily worked as a financial analyst at a successful firm, and her boss, yes, the same Daniel, was someone she always respected. She talked about him sometimes. Strict but fair, she said. He expects a lot, but he appreciates hard work. I had never paid much attention. Why would I? They were co-workers. Nothing more. Or so I thought. Looking back, I see it now. Little signs, little changes. The nights when she came home late. The sudden work trips. The way she started guarding her phone. How she sometimes seemed distracted even when she smiled at me. But I ignored it all. Because love makes you blind. 2 weeks before she died, she seemed especially distant. I asked if something was wrong, but she only shook her head and kissed my cheek. "Just tired," she said. I didn't push. I wish I had. The day of the accident was like any other. She left early. I made her coffee. She smiled at me one last time before stepping outside. And that was it. My last memory of her alive. Around noon, I got the call. A trembling voice from the hospital telling me she had been in a crash. A truck had skidded on wet asphalt and hit her car. By the time I reached her, she was already gone. Everything after that happened in a haze. Police reports, hospital papers, funeral arrangements. I walked through it all like a ghost, until Daniel showed up with a sentence. "You deserve the truth." Why would he say that now? Why today of all days? As I stood there, watching the workers lower her coffin into ground, I felt something shift inside me. Grief mixed with confusion. Confusion mixed with dread. And dread mixed with a very dangerous curiosity. What was Daniel hiding? What did he know about my wife that I didn't? I promised myself that after the funeral, I would find him and demand answers. But I had no idea how deep the secrets ran. The day after the funeral, I went to Emily's workplace. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I just showed up unannounced. Her co-workers were sympathetic, offering their condolences. But I wasn't there for comfort. My eyes searched for Daniel's office. His door was half open, and when he saw me standing there, he closed his laptop slowly. "Mark, I knew you'd come. You told me I deserved the truth." I said, "So tell me." He exhaled heavily and motioned me to sit down, but I refused. I stayed standing. "Emily," he began, "was working on something very sensitive, something not even we understood fully until recently." "What was she working on?" I asked, He hesitated before answering. A financial audit. A large one. She was investigating suspicious transactions involving one of our major partners. Okay, and again he hesitated. She wasn't supposed to mention this to anyone. It was confidential. But 2 weeks ago, she told me she felt unsafe. My heart stopped. Unsafe? Because of work. Yes, she said someone was following her. Someone was watching her. She didn't know who, but she thought it was connected to the audit. My mind couldn't function. She didn't tell me any of this. I whispered. Daniel shook his head. She wanted to protect you. I staggered back a little. Protect me? From what? Daniel continued. There's more. Her last day at the office, she brought me a flash drive. She said, if something happens to me, give this to Mark. A flash drive. A message meant for me. My skin crawled. Where is it? I asked. Daniel opened his drawer and placed a small black USB on the desk. I stared at it like it was a ticking bomb. I didn't look at it, he said. She said it was for your eyes only. My hands trembled as I picked it up. Mark, be careful, he whispered. I don't think her death was just an accident. Something cracked inside my chest. The room started spinning. My breaths got shallow. Because at that moment, the first time since she died, I felt anger. Real anger. If Emily's death was an accident, if someone had hurt her, if someone had chased her, if someone had forced her into fear, then I was going to find out who, and I was going to make them face the truth. When I got home, I locked the door, closed the curtains, and plugged the flash drive into my laptop. There were 3 folders. Folder 1, Transactions. Folder 2, Evidence. Folder 3, Read Me First. My heart pounded as I opened the Read Me First folder. Inside was a single video file. I hesitated, then clicked play. Emily appeared on the screen. Her face was pale, her eyes tired. She looked terrified. Mark, she whispered, voice trembling. If you're watching this, something has happened to me. My throat closed. I didn't want to involve you, but I can't keep this to myself anymore. I'm scared. I think someone is trying to stop me from finishing my audit. She looked behind her, as if checking the door. I discovered something about the company. Something about Daniel. Something I never expected. My heart dropped. Daniel? I whispered. Emily continued. He's involved in the transactions. He's hiding money, laundering it, and I think someone above him is helping. I found emails, bank transfers, documents. I felt dizzy. He told me it was too dangerous to keep digging. He said I should stop. But Mark, I can't. It's wrong. She wiped her tears. If anything happens to me, it won't be an accident. The video ended. My fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. Daniel had lied straight to my face. At my wife's funeral, he wasn't protecting her. He was protecting himself. I opened the evidence folder and found screenshots of emails, copies of transactions, hidden accounts. Everything Emily had discovered. Proof of a massive financial scheme. And Daniel was in the center of it. Then I opened the transactions folder. And there, listed in black and white, were payments labeled. Emergency settlement, yam. Confidential bonus, yam. Special compensation, yam. Payments to Emily, my wife. Why? What had he paid her for? Was she involved? No. I knew her. I knew her heart. Emily wasn't corrupt. She must have accepted the money to gather evidence, to expose him, to bring everything to light. My chest burned with betrayal. Not from her, but from him. Daniel had tried to silence her. He had threatened her. He had chased her. And now my wife was dead. This wasn't grief anymore. This was war. For the next 2 days, I barely slept. I barely ate. I just worked. I read every file, every email, every contract. I printed out evidence, organized it, connected the pieces. Emily had done all the hard work. I just needed to finish what she started. My plan was simple, but dangerous. Pretend I believed Daniel. Pretend I was grateful he gave me the USB. Pretend I was still the broken husband he had seen at the funeral. Make him believe I wasn't a threat. And while he let his guard down, I would collect even more evidence. I called him the next morning. Daniel, thank you for telling me, for giving me the drive. I want to understand everything Emily was working on. Can you help me? He paused on the phone. Then he said, Of course, Mark. Come to the office tomorrow. We'll talk. He bought it. Good. Because I was ready. Not for revenge through violence. Never that. But through something much worse for a man like him. Exposure. Public humiliation. Complete destruction of his career, his reputation, and his freedom. I didn't want his pain. I wanted justice. For Emily. I met Daniel at his office. He acted sympathetic, supportive, almost friendly. Emily was brilliant, he said. I miss her too, Mark. She was like family. I wanted to break something, but I stayed calm. Can I see her audit files? I asked. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded. She kept most of her work on the office server. Let me show you. Perfect. We went into the server room. He typed in his password. I watched every keystroke, memorizing, recording, inside the server. He opened her folders, but half of them were deleted. That's strange, he muttered. I kept my face neutral, but I already knew why. He had deleted them. Probably the night she gave him the USB. But what he didn't know, Emily had made backups, multiple backups, and she had given the final one to me. I leaned closer to the screen. What about the emails? She must have saved something. He shook his head firmly. Nothing. She never shared anything sensitive with me. Another lie. I stared at him for a moment, and that's when I said, Daniel, do you believe accidents just happen? He froze. What do you mean? He asked, forcing a smile. Emily didn't. I whispered. His expression cracked. Just for a second, a flicker, a flash of fear. And that was enough. I suddenly reached into my pocket and pressed a small button on my phone. It began recording. I asked, why did you tell her to stop the audit? He swallowed. I didn't. But you did. I stepped closer. You paid her, Daniel. Why? What were the payments for? He froze. How do you know about that? Bingo. He had reacted too quickly, too defensively. There was no going back for him. I whispered softly, you shouldn't have threatened her. His face turned white. Mark, let's talk privately. No, I said sharply. Let's talk honestly. He tried to walk past me, but I blocked him. You chased her. It wasn't me. She was afraid of you. She misunderstood. You deleted her files. I had no choice. You caused her death. No. IT wasn't supposed to happen. Silence. He covered his mouth. Realizing what he had just said aloud, my phone recorded every word. When he lunged toward me, trying to grab it, 2 security guards burst into the room, alerted by the noise. Is everything okay? They asked. I put my hands up calmly. Yes, everything is fine now. Daniel was still frozen, pale, breathing heavily. Caught. Completely. I turned to the guards and said, I think your boss needs help. And then I walked out, quietly, calmly, knowing the trap had closed. The next morning, I took everything, the USB, the printed evidence, the recorded confession, and went straight to the authorities. What followed was a storm. Investigators raided the company. Computers were seized. Files were analyzed. Employees were questioned. Within a week, Daniel was arrested, not just for fraud, not just for embezzlement, but for obstructing an internal audit that ultimately led to a woman's death. Emily's death. The company tried to distance themselves, but too much evidence surfaced. Daniel had acted with the help of 2 senior partners. All 3 were charged. Their empire collapsed. Their reputation shattered. Justice moved slowly, but it moved. I visited Emily's grave one quiet evening and placed a flash drive beside her headstone. You did it, I whispered. You exposed them. I just finished the job. The wind felt lighter that day. For the first time since she died, I could breathe again. Looking back, I learned something powerful. Sometimes the people we trust most are the ones we should fear the most. Sometimes the calm face hides the darkest intentions. But lies, no matter how carefully hidden, always leave cracks. And through those cracks, the truth finds a way out. Emily was brave, braver than I ever knew. She stood up for what was right, even when it put her in danger. And because of her courage, because of her persistence, because of her heart, justice was served. I still miss her every day, but I live with one comforting truth. Her story didn't end in silence. Her voice didn't disappear. Her truth wasn't buried with her. I carried it forward, and because of that, she won